Welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk here at RSA 2023. Terry Sweeney here with Dark Reading, and joining us now is Terence Liu, CEO of TXOne, as well as Jeff DePasse, head of TXOne Americas. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us on the Dark Reading News Desk today.
It's our pleasure.
Thanks, Terry.
We are talking about industrial cybersecurity and how it's evolving. Defending critical infrastructure is the first pillar in President Biden's National Cybersecurity Strategy. How have you guys seen the importance of industrial cybersecurity evolve over the years? Terence, can you kick us off?
Sure. Actually, prior to this cybersecurity strategy, President Biden had issued a executive order last year about improving the national cybersecurity in response to the Colonial Pipeline incident. And it's just this time we have more clear directions, such like how to define the minimum requirement to secure the critical infrastructure, as well as the collaboration between public and the private sectors. And on the other hand, we also see the manufacturing world has become the most attacked vertical in the world, top on the financial and top on the retail sector. So in my cybersecurity tenure, two things really drive the security budget and attention, and they are actual breaches as well as the compliances. So now we have both in industrial cybersecurity. So I think this problem just getting more and more significant and important.
That's great. Jeff, anything to add there?
Yeah, well, I just would add that just coming to RSA and seeing all the different booths and people wanting to talk about not just protecting critical assets, but protecting factories and critical infrastructure. And it's really, it seems to get a lot of legs, and I know it's a longer type of investment and endeavor, but yeah, to what Terence said, it's incidents and the opportunities for like critical infrastructure to be compromised. That really creates a lot of, we're getting a lot of inquiries on those types of things.
It seems that one of the side effects of the executive order is that OT, operational technology, has really entered into the conversations around security. Can cybersecurity frameworks that are implemented for IT also work in OT environments?
Yeah.
You have some thoughts there?
I think in terms of framework, there are many similarities. So basically, you need to define what is the crown jewels and how to protect them according to the severity, the priority. So the conceptually they are very similar. However, the actual implementation and the tactics could be very different, considering the limitations and the environment of OT is very different from IT. So for example, keep the critical systems up to date in terms of the patches, software patches, are very common in IT world. But in OT world, it's just hard to deploy that. Sure. So actual implementation need to be specially taken care in OT world.
Sure. Jeff, anything to add there?
Yeah, there's a lot. With the convergence of OT, you keep hearing about the OT-IT convergence, or really, the other way around. I think the fact that a lot of times the critical skills that are needed to protect the OT environments, there's certainly limitations from what we see in terms of personnel, to ask factory workers, plant supervisors to do, cybersecurity types of things. Is those skill sets seem to really not be as prevalent, but we see a shift with a lot of our customers putting money and resources towards those as well.
We started talking about the Biden's executive order, but the Internet of Things has also exposed a lot of the shortcomings in operational technologies as well. It seems like OT and IoT often get used interchangeably, and I know that's not a completely accurate sort of conflation, but curious if you guys see them that way, or if you see them as very distinct entities.
Well, for me, OT is a bigger word. So that includes the actual field devices like turbine, control systems, and the SCADA, and enterprise intelligence servers, such like MES, like a database. And IoT, Internet of Things, are those devices facing internet. So I think OT, inside OT, there could be IoT. But IoT, definitely not just OT. But there are some exceptions. For example, for those remote site OT environments, such like a substation, like a pipeline. How about the sensors of the pipeline? It's both OT and IoT. So in that case, I think that's interchangeable.
Yeah, it's when you hear things, Internet of Things. Like I tell my kids that, and they're like, "That's what you do? You work on the Internet of Things?" I said, "Well, yeah, it's a more industrial Internet of Things, if you want to know." Because like for us, it's really IIoT, industrial controls, is really what we focus on. But yeah, there's a lot of blurred lines for sure with how you classify them. But OT and IT definitely have a convergence, and even more so, like Terence mentioned, it gets more and more. There's probably a new acronym being made right now.
I think we should have gotten a whiteboard for this conversation to see the overlapping circles there, quite a Venn diagram. Industrial cybersecurity solutions are also continuing to emerge. What are some of the threats that are driving that evolution?
Yeah, we see two most important threats to our current OT environment. Number one is most of the OT environment lacks of even the basic protection. And number two is they just don't have enough staff or personnel to take care of the OT security issues. And that's why there were some very bad and severe incidents where it's a trivial virus like WannaCry and can make large enterprise have a big loss like $80 million to $300 million. If that kind of virus happen, jump into their IT. And I think in just 1 second, will be detected and eliminated. But just because the OT lacks of the basic protection, and so any virus, any worm can cause big trouble, right? So I think in the beginning, they need to address the needs of basic protection, like anti-malware, like a firewalling, or virtual patching, intrusion prevention system, those kind of things. But the second stage, we also see the ransomware affecting the OT environment. But the ransomware is actually majority of them coming from IT. Because most of the OT don't have the direct access to the internet. So it's like from internet, the ransomware get into the IT and gradually go to OT. So how to having the detection and response capability in OT is crucial to address that. Last but not the least, how about the cyber sabotage, right? Like in the Ukraine-Russia war, right? We see some malware like a Viper targeted on the critical infrastructure. And those OT-specific attack also make the solutions which can understand both OT application or OT network protocols. In a nutshell, the solution need to understand the OT operation to really effectively block those kind of OT-specific attack.
Zero trust is a big part of TXOne's remit. Curious if zero trust is perhaps easier to implement on the OT side of the house than it is in the IT realm. What are your thoughts there?
Well, zero trust is just hard.
Hard period.
In any way, in any place, it's hard. But at the TXOne, we have different definition extended to the zero trust, in addition to the authentication and the identification, where the IT talks most. Because in OT, especially if cybersecurity becomes an important matter, that means that the OT environment is more about automated. It's more automated. And so the operation is actually carried out by the machines. And so if one of the machines being compromised, the whole operation could be jeopardized. So TXOne's OT Zero Trust focus more on machine itself. Actually, throughout the life cycle of the machine, when the machine being brought into the shop floor, through the different stages, like staging, like production, even maintenance, and across the machine, application, network communication, to secure every mission critical machine. That's our goal of OT Zero Trust at TXOne.
Let's wrap up with just maybe looking ahead to the future. I'm curious from both of your perspectives. In the next 18 months, what do you foresee as the great opportunities in securing OT technologies?
From my perspective, it's just the recognition of, it's kind of the development, the evolution, if you will, of OT, and then the infrastructure, and some of these big events that have come across that are public, with organizations having just-in-time inventories and losing big contracts because they're not able to keep up with the demand because their factories are down. And just the company's recognition that they need to get more skill sets within these plants, within these factories, within these environments that typically are run by folks that are more apt at running machinery but not protecting it.
Yeah, I see that's very positive because at TXOne we are working with some of the industrial leaders in different verticals, and where they are. They already assign a group of people defining the security guideline for their enterprises, and they try to find out the effective mitigation and effective security protection to protect the OT. And that kind of activities and working with third parties like TXOne could form the best practices for those verticals, so that in the near future, the other enterprises and the mid-sized guys can also follow. So it's happening, but I don't see after 18 months it will be a peak. I won't call that way, because OT doesn't move that fast. Now that's just like a cloud technology or AI technology. So there are some physical things to take care, but things is improving.
Well, great perspective on the criticality of protecting both IT and OT networks. Terence and Jeff, thanks so much for joining us on the Dark Reading News Desk.
Thank you, Terry.
We've been talking with Terence Liu and Jeff DePasse of TXOne. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.